Hey there, professional drivers. This is Dave from GroundCloud here, and want to take you through a quick overview of the awesome GroundCloud driver app. So this is what your iPad's going to look like when you come into the vehicle. What we want you to do is, first thing in the morning, is to just come to the iPad and log in. So what you're going to do is look for the GroundCloud app icon. It should be right in the dock over on the left there. So you just tap on that guy and up brings a login screen. So your boss, they're going to give you a unique username and password. Every driver gets their own. So in this case, I'm just going to put in this demo account that we have here. And I'll just see if I can get that right. I just hit the return key. Okay, so if by chance you get a message that says incorrect username and password, just know that you have to get the uppercase, lowercase correct. Also, if you don't have a good network connection, you'll actually get an incorrect username. So check that. But when you have, when your boss has safety training triggered, so what happens is right when we log in, we'll get a quick training module. So the idea here is that this is something to get done, won't take you a lot of time at all. So just a little bit of content to look through. And then after you read that, upper right corner, just go ahead and hit the next button. Then there's just a couple of questions on here. So let's see if I read that correctly. So is speed is involved, 33% of all fatal crashes. That's true. All right, it's a responsibility of drivers to remain current. So if I were to say false on that, see, it's actually going to tell me I got to get the right answer. So I'm going to pick true there. Here's a multiple choice question. Again, so recommended on driving on snow and ice. Sure, we want to adjust speed to road conditions. Okay, now when we are complete, I'm just going to go ahead and sign my name in the box area here as demo driver. And then I hit the OK button. All right, so what we now see here is the dashboard. So the dashboard right here is going to tell us what route that we are currently assigned to. So you can see right in the middle here that this driver account, demo driver here, he's assigned to route 343. To the left of it is a change route button. You may or may not see that. So if your bosses want to have drivers assign themselves, they can do that and then hit the change route button and then pick which route that they are assigned to. Otherwise, managers will be doing that. So if you don't see the change route button, it means your managers will be assigning routes for you. Normally, you wouldn't have to hit that sync button that's to the right of the current route. That's just sort of a forcing the app to communicate with the cloud. But normally, all of the info comes from the cloud automatically. So that's sort of one of those things that if you're not quite sure if you've got the most up-to-date info from the cloud, you can hit that, won't hurt anything. But right away, we could just tell from a glance what's going on. So we've got 147 stops on this route over on the left. Over on the right tells us 187 packages. And so we're also tracking your work time and drive time. So we can just give a quick glance at this. So I've worked 25 minutes today, 13 hours, 17 minutes this week, etc. So also gives you kind of an overview of how many miles you've driven today for the week. Also kind of how many stops per hour you've done. So kind of cool. All right, so here's where it gets more interesting. In the upper left corner is the menu button. So if I go ahead and tap on that, we'll see a whole list of things. The dashboard is right at the top. That's what we just were looking at. And I want to show you just some of the other things here. Now, the really interesting one is My Drive, of course. So if we just go over to that, hit My Drive, you may or may not see this at some point where we have a bad address. That means that something came into the manifest that the system or nobody recognized. So if you get this, what you can do is just take a quick look at it. And if I hit the Go button there, when it tells me I have a bad address, so here, it's right at the top. And so here's the issue. So we've got a stop here for Elmer Fudd. And this is at 18699 Wabbit Place. And so our system, go figure, did not understand this particular location. So if you happen to know where this location is, really cool feature in our system. You can actually permanently set the location of that stop by hitting the edit button in the upper right corner like that. And then if I tap on the location at the very top, I just tap on that and I'll actually get a pinpoint. If I press and hold on that, I can actually move that to exactly where that is. I can move around, and let's say I happen to know that that stop is like right at the end here. That's where Elmer lives, right there. So then I go ahead and hit the save button upper right corner and then save again, and it's pretty cool. So just like that, we've now permanently saved that address to that location that you've just defined it. Super cool. So now if I go back to my route, I can just zoom out here. And so the terminal is this blue dot right up there. Then what you can do is see your entire route. So by default, we're showing everything like that. You can pinch and zoom just like a phone, but we have that nice, big, beautiful display. And just as a quick overview, what we're looking at here is we are actually seeing the address, also it's telling us up at top here, there's one box, and the SID. Quick thing, if you want to make that bigger, you totally can. So let's do that. So let's say we want to make the text bigger. I'm going to go over here, hit the menu button, hit the settings choice right there. I'm going to go to map preferences. And then right here, kind of in the middle where it says customize stop label, if I tap on that, check this out. I can like totally increase the size where it says the package size. Let's say I want to make that nice and big. And then the SID, I want to make that super big like that. So that way I can see it from across the vehicle, no problem. Also, so I'm going to go back to my drive. Let's check it out. All right, now I can see that nice and big. Cool. If there is a phone number associated with that address, if it's come in from the manifest, there's a little phone icon right there. And if I tap on that, it'll tell me right off the bat, okay, cool, there it is. That's the phone number for this customer. If you ever need that, quick access to it. Also, if you want to pull up, let's say you want to pull up your turn-by-turns. So how you do that is that right to the right of the address box, there is that little button that looks like kind of a folded piece of paper with a pinpoint. And if I tap on that, all right, so now I've got my turn-by-turns. And I can adjust the size of that however I want it. By default, see there's my speaker icon. I can mute it or have it speak to me, so it'll totally tell me when to turn, etc. And then if I want a whole list of instructions, I can tap right there on this guy. That'll give me exact driving directions. And so just like it says, if I start driving, it'll kick in. All right. We also have another way. Let's say you also want to see where your number of next stops. You can actually have a split view of the manifest as well. So what I'm going to do is over on the left-hand side, look for that little icon and that little button that looks like a clipboard. And I'm going to tap on that. All right. So now I can actually have the electronic manifest. So it's telling me I can see it in a quick glance. And so I can make this and adjust this however I want. And check this out. I can actually hit the filter button on here and determine what I'm going to show on my electronic manifest. So let's say I definitely want to see address 2, but I don't care about the city, state, zip, and I don't need to deliver it like that. So just like that, I can basically move this around. I can adjust the columns by just tapping on there, moving it out. So I can display, and that'll remember that, just like whatever I want to display there. Super cool. All right, so if you want that to go away, I can just hit that clipboard icon again. That goes away. If I want the turn-by-turns to go away, just hit the N button in the lower right corner. And now I've got my overall map here. All right, so over on the left-hand side, this is where we have different driving modes. So the top one looks like a paper airplane. This one's pretty cool. So basically, as I drive, it's going to show basically my current location, and then it will constantly zoom in to the stop. As I get closer, it'll automatically zoom in. So you'll just see it like it would be driving like this, and then it would just zoom in. So kind of a nice way to just do that. Also, the second one is the sort of the follow me mode. So as I turn, it'll actually orient the map such that up is always driving straight ahead. And what's really cool is you can actually have both modes at the same time. So if I hit both of these modes, it'll orient the map and will actually zoom in as I get close to it. So it's kind of almost like a turn-by-turns in itself, where you can just sort of see the route that has been laid out, and then you could drive to it without having the spoken turn-by-turns. All right. Now, I just want to show you over on the left-hand side at the bottom, let's say I want satellite mode. So I can do that. And so now I can totally see everything in satellite view. That's great for when there's a stop and you're not quite sure where the house is. Also, I want to show you something real quick here. On this stop right here, notice, I'll go back to normal mode. Notice there are two dots for the stop. There's the what's called the rooftop. That's where the one's circled in red, but then there's also a blue dot on the road. And so the blue dot on the road is basically the mailbox. That's where you want to access the property. So that's where we're gonna direct you to that. So just to know that every location will actually have 2 points like that. All right, so let's get rid of our satellite choice. And then lastly, over on the left-hand side, the one tool we haven't talked about, looks like a squiggly amoeba type thing there. That is our zoning tool. That is, we have a whole separate video on that, but real quick, you can do some awesome stuff with this. So if I tap on the zoning tool, all my stops turn red, and then I can do some really cool things. Like, for example, let's say I want to delete some stops just by an area. I could just circle a group of stops like this, and then I could hit this delete stops button right at the bottom there. Or I can transfer them to another route. So that's what the transfer button is for. Or I can also do things like this. Let's say my route has been, I'm going to get rid of this and just undo that. So let's say I want my current route is starting with my first stop right close to the terminal, and then it works its way from north to south. Let's say I want to reverse my route, and I want to start at the very end in the southeast corner of my route and then work my way back. So what I could do real quick is I could just circle that area there and then say, okay, then I want to come into my area here. And then lastly, I don't really care. I just want the system to find my best routing through all of this. Then I want to finish up here. And so I could just say, notice how it's drawing numbers. So I want to finish with this stop one, my very last. So I'm going to leave it outside of any circle like this, outside of any shape. Now I'm going to hit the check mark over on the left. Now, save with orphans, that's just letting me know I didn't circle everything. And it's important to know that because anything that's not circled, anything that's still red is going to be put to the end. But I want that. I left it that way deliberately. So I'm going to say save with orphans. And notice how it says priority zones updated. That just means that my request has hit the cloud. It's currently processing in the cloud. And now it says an optimized delivery route is available. And so check this out. Just that fast, the system has now completely re-optimized an entire route. And just like I wanted, now I'm starting off down here in the southeast. I'm now working up just like to that next cluster that I circled. Then I let the system totally optimize everything within that big massive group, and then just like I wanted, my last stop is right there on my way back to the terminal. So this is an incredibly powerful tool that you can reorganize and you can re-optimize a route just like you want it, and it's awesome in terms of whatever you got that's going on, where you need to get to a different area and then you want to re-optimize based upon where you are. Let's say you had a sudden pickup, or you're helping some guy out, you're over here for another reason, and so it's a great way to make the best of a situation. So now, when I get to a stop, here's what I want to do. When I get there, I make the delivery. Let's pretend I'm right there at that location. And so what I can do is when I get there, I want to hit the deliver and go button. So if I hit that, notice I'm getting this warning here that says outside the maximum distance from stop. Well, that makes sense because I'm not there. I'm in a totally different area here. That means that it's just giving me a heads up. And so if you ever see this, you want to basically ask and say, and really take a look around and say, am I really at the correct stop location? So let's just say I forgot to hit the deliver and go button. Now I've driven away, but yeah, I know I was at the right place. So I'm going to hit the override distance check button on the right, like that. All right, so then I have my settings set to automatically kick in the turn by turns. I can turn that off if I want, by the way. So next up, my next stop would be this. My next stop is there. And so now, let's say I go there, I can hit that deliver and go button. So now, just so you know, if you're there, you're at the stop and you see this, that middle button that says set stop to current location, you only want to hit that when you are, number one, you are truly at that stop location. And number two, you know with absolute certainty that you're in the right location. Don't ever hit that button if you have driven off, you forgot to deliver, and then you want to hit it, because then it'll totally kind of move the stop location permanently to a place where we don't want it. So, but on the other hand, if you're totally, you know you're there, you're 100,000% at, you're dead on, you're sure about it, go ahead and hit the set stop to current location, and then we will update our database so that next time we'll direct you to that stop and you won't get this message. It's also fantastic. So if you're on vacation and someone else is driving your route, our system's going to take them to the right spot. Okay, so moving on. So, and just like that, after you make a delivery, notice that the stop turns to a check mark and you're on to the next stop. Just like that. So the other, let's say the stop number 2, let's say there was a SIG required, and no one's home. Well, in that case, you could hit the attempt and go button, just like that. Same thing. Now I'm not there. I'm going to keep getting this, so I'm going to hit the override. And notice right over here, there's a kind of a white X. That's just letting me know that I attempted that spot. In every other way, it's the same, but this way I can tell that I have this attempted stop, and I could choose maybe to come back later, or it's just a way to let the system know that it was attempted, but it did not get completed. By the way, on the upper right corner, I want to just talk about that. That's where you can see one of the list of stops, and you can actually search right there. And also, it'll show you there's a check mark here. That means that stop has been delivered. And the second one, there's an exclamation point. That one was attempted. So that's what that looks like. Okay, also, just want to show you beneath the stops button, there is a little I button. That kind of shows you what the different things on the map look like. So if it's round, it's going to be delivery. If it's square, it's going to be a pickup. It shows you if it's an attempted pickup, or if you see sort of a red circle with a question mark, that means it's an unknown location that we've just plotted sort of in the middle of the route, just so you know that it's there. And so you can update that. So I'll just make that go away. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of my drive. Okay, I also want to show you that on this particular stop right here, notice where underneath the stop address, it actually says test 123. That's what's called an address note. So that's super cool. You can use that for gate codes, or you can use it for any type of information that you want to have permanently saved on a stop. Here's how you set that. So on any stop like this, I'm going to tap the address. And so when I tap that, it just shows me the one stop. Now I'm going to hit the upper right corner, hit the edit button. And now I'm going to scroll down to where it says address notes right there. So this is where I could put in, I could say gate code or watch for dog or deliver side door, whatever you want. And then when I put that info in there, I hit the save button in the upper right corner. And then notice right there, now it says test 1, 2, 3, 4. But what's super cool about this is that in the future, where there are stops to that location, we will automatically show that address note in red underneath there, so that the next driver, again, this is so awesome. So you are on vacation, you have a sick day or something, and another driver is driving your route, then they can see the gate code or the mad dog that's at that property or whatever they need to know. So use that, make use of that. It's completely awesome to do that. Okay, so that's a quick overview of my drive. So again, you want the turn by turns, that is the button right there. If you want the manifest, also, that's right there. at any time. You can pinch and zoom this. While you are driving, we will disable the menu button in the upper left corner, but you will still be able to move your map like this. So we ask you not to. It's just keep your eyes on the road, but everything on my drive is still active even while you're moving. Okay, so let's hit the menu button here. I want to show you some other very cool things here. I'm going to hit the manifest. And so the manifest here, this is a very powerful feature. It's not just showing you what's in your manifest here, but you can also do a couple of different things here. First of all, there is a filter button here. So what I could do, let's say I want to be able to deliver right from the manifest. Let's say I am a human Google Maps and I know where everything is. I don't need turn by turns. I could just go right off of this. I can drive right off of this manifest here, and then when I hit a stop, I can just hit the deliver button again. Then at this point, either I can hit OK or override the distance check. So OK just means, oops, I'm actually not where I'm supposed to be. Override again means, no, just force it delivered here. I'm going to keep going. Okay, so again, you can use that filter button there. There's actually a printer button like this. So if you wanted to print out that manifest, it's pretty cool. If you had an AirPrint printer, you can actually do that. And then lastly, there is up top, there is this little tiny barcode button. So this barcode button, if I press that, it will actually, the first time, it's going to ask for permission to access the camera. So I'm going to say yes. And so what I can do with this is I can actually just move it right over. See that? It just grabbed the label. So let's say I had to add a stop. I could just put that right over there. And then I can either quick add the stop or edit the stop details. So let's say I wanted to also put in a SID in there. So if I hit edit stop details, here it is. I've just added this. And so I can put in, here's my SID. I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to stick this right here in location 4501. And then I hit save. All right, so just like that, new stop added. So that's super cool. That is in the most recent, current, when we made this video, version of our software. And so just like that, we added in that stop to my drive. So that has now been added in there. Okay, so again, another very cool thing about the manifest feature here is that I can reorder stops by dragging them. So I can basically, if I want to, I can, let's say there's a stop right here, and I want to take this stop, and look at this, there's a little control on the right-hand side. I can drag that and move that to a new location or wherever I want it to be in order. Or let's say I can select a stop and see down here at the bottom, I could say move to top, and bam, just like that, I've moved a stop there. Or let's say maybe you've got some pickups over here, and I don't have any pickups there, but notice at the top I can actually sort by either delivery pickup, but or I can sort by SID like that. Now it's whatever the order is, but I'm sorted by SID. This is a fantastic way to transfer stops, by the way. So if I'm looking at my stops here, and I'm sorted by SID from, let's say, low to high. Let's say I just want to transfer the 1000s over to another route, another vehicle. So I could just select the 1000s. I could hit the transfer button just like this, select the route I want to transfer to, and hit transfer to route button, and boom, off they will go. I didn't do it, but that's how easy it is. You can transfer stops by an SID range, or if I tap on the stop number, I could do that. I could sort it by any of these top things up there. And by the way, I can resize these columns by dragging the little markers there. Or I can hit the reorder. This is where I get these guys on the right, where I can move things around individually, or select some stops and say move to bottom, for example. And so bam, just like that, I've selected couple stops, I move to bottom. When you're done with all of your choices, you could hit the complete button in the upper right corner, and now that's going to save that new sequence order that you've created. So really cool stuff. Again, you can drive off this and you can do some really cool either transferring or reordering or even deleting. It's very cool stuff. Okay, next up, the notifications. That just means like here's a running order of like the cloud sending updates to the app. I can get rid of that number by hitting mark all red. That goes away. Under messages, this is a great way to communicate with managements. So you don't have to use your phone. So you can basically communicate. They'll actually get a text message, if you do this. So if you say, hey boss, whatever, you send that in, and then they can communicate. So this is a great communication feature. All right, next up is under time card. This is something that you shouldn't have to really mess with. It kind of tracks automatically, but the only time you would dive into here is, let's say you're taking a lunch break and you stop the vehicle, and then you can hit this button that's sort of animated up top where and hit the stop work button, and then you can just leave it like that. And then when you come back into the vehicle, you can hit start work again, and then it will keep track of that. So really, again, the only time you need to touch that is if you're taking a break and your boss says, I want you to punch off the time clock while you take your break. The safety button here, that's just the menu. That's just sort of showing the record of safety training that you've done. Trip inspections. So this is also a very cool, very powerful feature that we'll dive into in a separate video. So that is something that would pop up automatically when your bosses enable it. But for example, you might be looking at the tires, you might be looking at a whole DOT trip inspection, you might be identifying the vehicle, but that pops up automatically, and then you close it out by signing your name just like you would on the safety training. That's what the inspections is. But the inspections report here is, let's say you've completed your inspection, your pre-trip inspection, and then you get pulled over by a DOT officer. Well, you can actually pull this up and tap on it and show them, here, I did my full DOT inspection and here's my signature. So it's a fantastic electronic way to show that the trip inspection was completed. So you don't have to carry paper around. Okay, under offline maps, this is where you definitely want to have your state installed. This is so that the iPad can go off network and everything keeps working. Super cool. All of the turn-by-turns and everything. So I'm in Minnesota, so I have Minnesota installed here. That's awesome. So if you see your state here, all you want to do is make sure, like over here on the right-hand side with the down arrow, you want to tap on that. And so let's say I wanted to install Alaska. I would just hit that down arrow, and you basically, it'll just automatically install, and then it's done. So that's a very cool feature. Lastly, the settings menu here. One very cool thing, if you are working late into the night and you want to do night mode, you can turn that on. It's super cool. Just take a quick look of what that looks like. So now you don't like the glare of the white, so you can go night mode. So it's a very cool feature right there. So again, I can turn night mode back off by doing that. Push notifications, always leave that on. There's a lot of cool stuff in map preferences. So this is where we're showing, so manual route mode, real quick. What that is, if I turn that on, I will no longer have a route. You'll just see stops. So the idea here is that you don't want to have any route at all. You just want to basically tap a stop at whatever you want, and then if you want to go to it, if you want turn-by-turns to it, you can hit the nav button up top, and now we'll take you right there. You deliver it, you're done. Notice that the buttons changed to just deliver and attempt instead of attempt and go. Because in this mode, you are totally instructing the system how you want to drive it. So you go to that, then you would tap on the next stop you want to go to, etc. So that's what manual route mode is. You are totally choosing the whole route. So talk to your boss about that. So most people would not be doing that, but I'll go back to map preferences and turn off that manual route mode. Show direction arrows. That's just showing the little arrows on the out on the route. Show your speed. If you don't have the turn by turns up, you might want to have the system showing how fast you're going. Another cool feature is the current street displayed. So if you want to see what street you're currently on my drive. So right now at the bottom, I can actually see I'm currently on Peony Lane. So every time you turn the corner and you hit a new street, this will update and tell you what street name you are on. So that's also awesome if you're not thoroughly familiar with an area, with a region. That'll tell you what's going on there. Also, we talked about customize stop label, customize current location indicator. I could do that and make my custom indicator and make it like something different. Let's say I'm going to make it a green color. I'm going to drag the dot out here and make it much more of a bright green. And let's say I want to make it large. Okay. So now when I go to, all right, now when I go to my drive, check it out. So this is my current location. So now that's where I have my current location. So you can make this whatever you want. So just keep in mind that the next stop is going to be red. So you don't want to make your current location indicator red. You want to make it something other than that. So green. So right now we have a stop right there. So that's why my current location is right there. Very cool on that. Okay. Anything else under map preferences? Show upcoming stops within range of next stop. That's just something if you want to not use the manifest split view, it'll actually pop up a window and show you the next 4 or 5 stops. The other settings here for offline routes, we recommend that you just leave those as is so that it'll automatically pull those stops down. For map application, we recommend the integrated turn-by-turns option. However, you can, if you really wanted to, force it to use Google Maps. But the thing is, if you use Google Maps, it'll force it to switch to a different app. You'll be switching back and forth, so not really recommended there. At least with Apple Maps and Waze, you can make it into what's called a split view. We've got a different video on that, but for 99.9% of you, unless you're driving through heavy traffic and you want to integrate Waze to direct you around traffic, we just recommend using the integrated map option, which is this guy right there. All right, and then we also, at the very bottom here, when to launch map application, that's always, just leave it to always. If you want turn-by-turns to come up, if you never want turn-by-turns to come up, then hit the never button like that. That way, when I deliver a stop like this, I go back to, and let's say I'm going to deliver and go. I'm going to override because I'm not there. Notice how the turn-by-turns didn't pop up. So if you're like, man, I know my area, I don't need turn-by-turns, you can just turn that off like that. Okay, guys, so that is in a nutshell, a quick overview of the GroundCloud driver app. We have a number of other videos for doing specific things like adding stops. And I'll just show you real quick. If I want to add stop, I can just press and hold anywhere on the map. And bonus points if you pressed and held where the stop is, because it'll try to guess the address. But usually you would not know, so you would just hit the details button, and here's where you can basically put in the address. So you can type in the address, put it in there, hit the save button, and then we will save that stop. Okay, so those are the big things that are super helpful to know right off the bat. Again, we have other videos that show you specifically much more on driver rerouting and other features of the app that are super cool. So check those out at a future time. But as always, we just need you to know that the most important thing is for you guys to be safe. And so please do not keep your eyes totally fixed on this iPad while you're driving. It should really just be listening to the turn-by-turns and really just focus on the iPad itself when you've come to a complete halt. So be safe out there, and we really appreciate you guys. Take care.